So I just finished Ronan Farrow's Catch and Kill, and it just makes me sick. I can't believe this actually happened. And yet this book is so well researched, so fact checked, and so well sourced. One of the things that really blew my mind, as I was listening to it, I was thinking, how the hell does Ronan Farrow know that these conversations happened with the people that were monitoring him and stalking him and investigating him in order to keep the secrets to try and squash him from writing a story? And eventually even the people who were, like some of the people who were investigating him, who'd been hired by Harvey Weinstein, NBC, and like they turned and gave Farrow information. They turned and gave him inside information, and just the amount of people who stuck their neck out in order for this story to be told and told properly is kind of incredible. And yet, as I was listening to it, you are also struck by the insane number of people that had to step in and cover up this story in order to, I don't know, keep their jobs or something. Like, mate, no job is worth it, and I like to sleep at night. Ugh. Catch and Kill mostly centers around the Harvey Weinstein allegations of rape, sexual assault, and plenty of intimidation, and just being a horrible human being. It also talks a bit about the Matt Lauer firing at NBC and the allegations of rape and sexual assault and harassment in the workplace, which were straight up covered up by NBC. One of the things I found most interesting about this book is just the way it kind of opens your eyes to outlets like the National Enquirer, who buy the rights to certain stories in order to squash them. And then that basically prohibits any other outlet or from publishing the story because the National Enquirer has the rights. And it is so gross how they use that in order to get what they want from other powerful men, such as a certain president that maybe behaves in a less than stellar way, and then they use that information to get what they want from those people like Harvey Weinstein or from Donald Trump or from Matt Lauer or whoever, and they use that information for their power. So then the National Enquirer can go to like Harvey Weinstein and say, hey, just so you know, Ronan Farrow is writing this piece on you. And that enables Harvey Weinstein to start doing his own investigations of Ronan Farrow, or to start trying to shoot down sources, or to enforce horrible non-disclosure agreements, and to basically go around doing some pretty horrendous things like making video testimonies just magically disappear out of police officers. And it's just really incredible how far-reaching their power was, and how many people really participated in this cover-up and why they participated in this cover-up. I mean, I kind of get the back and forth between the National Enquirer and Harvey Weinstein, that there's benefits and power for both in that relationship, but ew! I think if you have been assaulted, and maybe this is not the best book for you, but it's a really interesting book about how these cover-ups occur and how certain things are kept from the public, and how much we just don't really realize because there's this catch and kill opportunity for places like the National Enquirer, like institutions like the National Enquirer, to buy stories just to kill them in order to keep the public in the dark and to keep certain stories out of the public awareness. And it's really just pretty grotesque, to be honest. And you listen to this book and I think really it's impossible not to get angry. It's just so disgusting that this went on for so long. It's disgusting that NBC has more or less just kind of moved on as if nothing really happened, and all they've done is fire Matt Lauer. Like, that's not enough. Like, not enough. But it's a very interesting book about how this all went down and how we ended up in this place where the Me Too movement really got some power behind it and really got some momentum going, because part of the Harvey Weinstein scandal really was that the Me Too movement really got into full swing. And I think that something that sometimes got lost in the Me Too movement was because there were so many stories, was the thing that got lost was the detail about how this remained suppressed for so long. And I think that that's a really important story to hear. And Farrow tells it really well and in an extremely detailed way. And it's also kind of terrifying, like how much he had to put up with. Like he had to move into a safe house in order to remain safe and be able to tell this story. People were really like, they were out for him. They did not want this story out. And it's just, ugh. Anyway, it's a really well written book, but it is quite triggering, I think, if you've been through anything like this and felt that people don't listen to you or that they victim shame and things like that, because it just happened to so many women and you get to hear their stories. The only thing I didn't like about this book was Farrow doing the voices for his interviewees. So, I mean, I got used to it a little bit by the end, but early stages I found it really irritating and very distracting. His Australian accent is terrible. And also, for some reason, like early on, a lot of the female voices that he was doing made it almost sound like he was taking the piss a little bit out of their story, but I did get used to it by the end. It was just one of those things that I think was really unnecessary, and I think the book would have been just as powerful, if not more so, if Ronan hadn't tried to do the voices for the people he was quoting. I think what I'm going to do next is listen to Rose McGowan's Brave, because I really think that Rose's story wasn't told in full detail in Catch and Kill because she went through so much, and it'll just be interesting, I think, to hear her side of things. And I think, again, it's going to be a really important voice to hear in terms of really understanding the Me Too movement and why it's so important and how much was covered up. So I think that's what's going to be next for me. But I mean, they are pretty intense reads, so I think I'll probably have a little space between them. But definitely think if you're interested in stories about investigative journalist work and real life cover-ups, and it's kind of almost like a little bit of a spy novel in a way, because he gets so hunted and it's almost like he's made out to be paranoid, and it turns out he's not paranoid at all, that he's being stalked and watched. And anyway, it's quite an interesting book, and I think it's an important book. Definitely check it out if you're into that sort of a read. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and to follow me on Instagram and Twitter @PipCoombs.